Good evening, everyone, or good afternoon, depending on where you're joining us from. We're going to give folks a few minutes here to get settled in. We are just a minute after 7 o'clock. We appreciate everybody taking time this evening. We've got a nice crowd joining us this evening. Again, welcome to tonight's Bluejay Family Life panel. We're going to give folks just another minute or two, knowing we'll have some people logging on here. While we're waiting for the rest of our people to join us, I do just want to take care of a little bit of housekeeping tonight. So this is a webinar, and we've got several panelists that are going to be sharing this evening about helping your student. By the way, we know we have some students joining us as well. So helping students through academic concerns. We do want to call your attention to the Q&A function this evening. So that's how we'll be communicating. So actually, as we wait just a minute or two for folks from all around Bluejay Nation to join us, if you would just take a moment and in the Q&A, why don't you just let us know where you're joining us from? So we'll hop down there in the Q&A. We've got Kansas in the house, Arizona, Chicago. Okay, Chicago. We've been on notice that we've got a tip-off of a basketball game here in 57 minutes in downtown Chicago. So we're going to hold to that. Oh, Omaha, of course. We love our Omaha Jays. Minnesota. Yeah, roll Jays. Love it. We got a lot of West Coast. California, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll start here in about one more minute. And again, for those of you just joining us, we're testing out the Q&A function. And if you want to practice by just saying hello, putting where you're from. If you're from a warm climate, please don't let us know your weather forecast. Today, the bottom fell out here. I'm sure you heard from your Jays. We had just a blistering cold day, one of our first here in Omaha. Fantastic. Oh, yes, Omaha's here. More California, St. Louis. Wonderful. Thanks, everybody. And with that, I do want to be mindful and respectful. I show that it is 7:05 Central Time. And again, for those of you just joining us, we will respect that very hard deadline, which we call Bluejay tip-off here versus DePaul and Chicagoland. We'll make sure we're all wrapped up here shortly before 8. And please know, if you do have to bow out, we are recording this and we will be sharing this and we'll be posting it on our website as well. But for now, I want to kick things off here at 7:05 and just really welcome everybody to our Bluejay Family Live panel. This evening's topic is helping your student through academic concerns. We do know we have some students here as well. So just really want to give a shout out to gratitude for everybody that's joining us this evening. My name is Marianne Tejan, and I have the pleasure of being the Senior Director of the Success Center at Creighton University. And before we jump in, I just want to give you a little bit of lay of the land. The Success Center, our location, we're in the lower level of the Reinert Alumni Library. And we also have our 3 Success Hub locations in each of the first-year residence halls that are open to all students. And our contact information is there. And again, we'll share these slides out later when we're finished. So if you have any questions or you think of something tomorrow, a week from now, just know that you'll have access to this. And with that, we can go to that next slide. I do want to pause and just really give a shout out to our Office of Student and Family Support, our director, Ann DeLuca, who's behind the scenes tonight, as well as our lead on these Bluejay Family Lives, Torian Walker. Just really want to thank them for all their efforts to ramp up our communication with our families, our parents and families. And we've got all sorts of ways that you can follow us and engage with us there in front of you. So again, thank you and welcome. And next, just in this about 50 minutes that we're going to have together, I want to share our overview. We're going to hear from some amazing panels. They're going to introduce themselves when it's their turn to speak, but just know that we've got representatives from financial aid, from advising from our 3 undergraduate colleges. We've got our team from the Office of Academic Success and from Student Accessibility Services, and we sure are going to try to leave time for more Q&A here at the end. And before I turn it over to our first panelist, we really just always want to make sure in our Creighton and our Jesuit tradition that we really take a moment and reflect, especially as we start this new year. And tonight's reflection really is centered around the question, why are we here this evening? Or why are we choosing to watch this recording? And with that, I would just share some reasons that some of last year's participants or attendees shared with us. Why we are here, many of us are here because we want to support our student, our son, our daughter, our family member. Some of us are here because we made a New Year's resolution. Some of us are here because we didn't have the semester that we really wanted, that we had hoped to have. Some of us are here because we got news recently that we're on academic probation or academic intervention. Some of us are here and we're really worried because we were dismissed from the university, but we were given the opportunity to appeal, and we did. But we really know that this is our last opportunity to turn things around. Some of us are here this evening because we're really concerned about our GPA. We're concerned about our ability to get into med school, dental school, law school, any of our professional schools. Some of us logged in tonight or listening because we're concerned about losing our scholarship and financial aid. Some of us are here because we had a medical issue, or we're struggling with our mental health, or we received a diagnosis recently, or we got some news from back home that really impacted our academic success. And let's face it, some of us are here because as a student, or maybe the parent or family member of a student, we're realizing that we're having some struggles with independence, with managing our time, with managing our social lives and our commitments with our academics. Some of us tonight are feeling like we let ourselves down. Some of us are feeling like we let mom and dad down, or our parents down. Some of us here are parents or family members, and we feel like we let our child down or our student down. Maybe we missed something. So really, I want to wrap up this reflection by saying, we're here for a variety of reasons, but one thing we know tonight, wow, amazing attendance, we are not alone. That this may not have been the last semester year, may not have been perfect, but we can all rebound. We believe in second chances. And please hear us loud and clear tonight. We have supports at Creighton. We just need you to take advantage of them. We need to keep these lines of communication open. But we are just so happy, and I think I speak on behalf of all the panelists. We're just so happy that you all are taking the first step in accessing this information that we're providing tonight and accessing the resources. And you did that by choosing to be with us tonight or choosing to watch this recording. So know that you're not the only one. You belong at Creighton. You made the right choice to be at Creighton. And with that, I'll have you go to the next slide to just reiterate. When you think back when you made that choice to commit to Creighton, this is a two-way street, folks. Creighton, we are committed to you. We've got tremendous resources. If you are struggling, if your student is struggling, there is support. We need you to take advantage of it. We need you to communicate, let us know what's going on. But we also tonight, we're here for a very serious reason. If you continue, if folks out there are continuing with struggles and continuing to not make that satisfactory academic process, there are some real consequences. And we are very open, honest, and clear on that. And with that, that's how we're going to kick it off. We're going to have Janet Solberg from our Office of Financial Aid kick us off with what some of these consequences may be. And then we're going to follow it up really quickly with how to maybe do some course corrections and access those supports. So with that, Janet, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you.
Thanks, Marianne. Hi, my name is Janet Solberg, and I'm the Director of Financial Aid here at Creighton University. On the screen, you will see the contact information of our office. We are located in the Harper Center, Suite 1100. That's our phone number as well as our email address. So if you have any questions following, please contact us any of those 3 ways. So the first thing I want to talk about when it comes to financial aid and satisfactory academic progress is there is a separate process just for this financial aid. There is an academic process as well that you may also have to appeal with the college, but this financial aid staff, as we like to call it, is a separate process and also needs to be completed in order to be eligible for financial aid and scholarships. So below or on the screen, you will see our SAP policy for our undergraduates. We look at satisfactory academic progress once per year, academic year, and that is after the spring semester. So after the fall grades were posted, nothing in regards to your financial aid has changed. We will review GPA and PACE at the end of the spring term. So what is the qualitative measure? That's where we look at the student's GPA. A student as a freshman must have a 1.75 cumulative GPA. So cumulative means your GPA up to the point at the end of the spring semester. So that would, if you're a freshman, that would be your fall and your spring GPAs put together. After freshman year, so sophomore, junior, senior, you must then be at a 2.0 cumulative GPA for federal funds. Some scholarships do require a different GPA requirement, and your student should know what that is, as it would have been lined out in the scholarship letter that they would have received. The second part of satisfactory academic progress is PACE. Students must complete 75% of all courses attempted. So we calculate that by dividing the total credits completed by the total credits attempted. Transfer credits are not included in that calculation. But what is something that would hinder that calculation? Any type of F grade or W's. If a student drops during the add drop process, that is not included in that calculation. The third part that we look at is duration. And that is where a student has to complete their degree in 150% of the semester hours of the intended degree program. Transfer hours are a part of that calculation, as well as part-time hours would also be included in that calculation, and even if the student didn't receive financial aid during that time frame as well. So what happens if you fail satisfactory academic progress? What is going to happen is the student would go on suspension, and then they would have a chance to appeal. So what will happen is that after spring term grades are posted, we in the financial aid review both that GPA as well as the PACE to ensure that the student meets satisfactory academic progress. If a student does not meet at the end of the spring term, we will then email them, letting them know that the financial aid, which would include federal funds as well as any institutional funds, have been suspended. And in that, we will explain to them how they can, what process they need to complete in order to have those reinstated. Again, this would be emailed to the student at the end of the spring term. So it is important, if you're on the borderline and not sure, to be watching emails during the summer months. Usually around the first part of June is when that email would be sent to students if they unfortunately failed satisfactory academic progress. So what happens next? So again, we would send a letter explaining this process. But what the student has to do is really 2 parts. Number 1 is they would have to complete an appeal letter. They need to explain what led to not being able to meet satisfactory academic progress and how will they be successful moving forward. They will need to submit that appeal letter to the financial aid office. The second part is they will also need to meet with their academic advisor in their college to discuss and create an academic plan for the next fall term, or the next term that they come back to Creighton. That academic plan has to be approved by the college, and that college representative, will then send that academic approved plan to the financial aid office. Once we have both of those pieces of information, the committee will then review and an outcome will be determined. And at that point, a letter would be sent, email would be sent to the student letting them know the outcome. And if the student was regained their eligibility, we would also let them know the next steps in order to complete that financial aid process. So we are here in the financial aid office to help. Each individual student has a financial aid counselor assigned to them. So if you have any questions during this process, your financial aid counselor would be happy to assist you. Either you can set up an appointment via phone or email, especially with it being potentially during the summer. But just reach out to us and we'd be happy to walk you through that process.
All right, thanks, Janet. Looks like these are my slides here. Sharice Williams, Senior Assistant Dean in the Hyder College of Business. We also have a couple other assistant deans on the Zoom. So for my families in arts and sciences, we have Assistant Dean Lisa Brockhoff, who will be available to help field questions. And we also have Assistant Dean Dr. Geraldine Cam in nursing. So I'm just doing the talking for right now because a lot of these roles go across any college. Undergraduate college, College of Nursing, College of Arts and Science, and Hyder College of Business. So to talk a little bit about academics, now that Janet has talked about financial aid, I'd like to talk about the best way to sort of increase your GPA. You know, Dr. Teja and Marianne talked about some of the concerns people have. So I'm here to talk about some academic tips and tricks. First, I'll say retaking classes is the best way to increase your GPA. So students must retake grades of F, but students could choose to take grades of C minus or lower, retake those grades. I would say the best thing to do to find out next steps, or should you retake, or what's your best plan, is to reach out to your advisor or even your friend's advisor, right? I like to say if your student is not connecting with their advisor, maybe their friend has a great advice. I shouldn't say great advisor. Maybe their friend has an advisor that might that you might feel more comfortable with, right? Sometimes students will go talk to an assistant dean in arts and sciences, and Lisa might send them to me, or maybe I have someone who I'll say, gosh, you should go talk to Professor so-and-so because this is their expertise. So don't be afraid to reach out to your advisor, your dean's office. That would be the folks I've mentioned here, and get to know the people at any front desk. That's a pro tip. I think that's just kind of my thing, because those people are the gatekeepers, and they can get you into people who you really need to see. Another important tip, know your deadlines. My.creighton.edu registrar is my homepage. There's lots of good information to be found there. For this semester and for every semester, there are always important dates regarding adding and dropping classes. So for spring 24, students can drop, add, or make changes on their own using the nest until Monday, January 15th. We do know that that is a holiday, but students can access the nest and make any changes on their own. They do not need permission during that first week. After Monday, students can still withdraw from a course, or I like to use the term drop a course because no W will be assigned, but students may drop a course until that's Thursday, January 18th. After Monday the 15th, so starting Tuesday the 16th through Thursday the 18th, students can still drop a class, but you will need assistance to do that. So my advice is to probably email your assistant dean or email your advisor, and they can help you figure out how to do that without penalty. Big view, if things really don't work out for a student, The last day to withdraw from a class and earn a W is March 28th. So that means students have about the first full week of class to make changes without penalty. Students can stick out a class until March 28th. So that will give students time to take some exams, definitely get midterms done, and figure out what the best plan is then. Okay, so that's always the absolute positive deadline to withdraw and avoid receiving a failing grade, or what you might consider a poor grade, is March 28th. Guess what? Registration for summer begins April 5th. And registration for fall will be over a period, with seniors starting April 5th. So here's a tip that I give my students. Anytime there's spring break, you look for registration information to come when you return to campus. And anytime after fall break, it's going to be time to register for spring. So when students have those big breaks mid-semester, it's already time to start thinking about the next semester, or maybe visiting with your advisor to see if you should withdraw by that March 28th deadline. My best advice also for getting the semester started off good is to review all your syllabi and create a bird's eye view for assignments and exam. What that means is sit down someplace quiet, or maybe go to our student success office and have someone sit down with you to create sort of a bird's eye view of the semester. When are all my exams? What papers do I have due? Do I have any time conflicts? Do I have any exams on the same day? My brother's getting married on that day. I better talk to that professor now to see if I can miss class on that time. Also, if you really need some tips besides your advisor, all of our freshman students at least just finished RSP. Your decurion, who's your senior leader, and your sophomore student, they're great resources. They can really help you figure out some things, and they might refer you to your advisor, or maybe it's something easy that they can just help you figure out. The end of semester is a good time to reflect. I think this is my friend, Assistant Dean Brockhoff in Arts and Sciences. I love this slide. This is a good time for your student to ask if they're enjoying their classes. Not everyone enjoys general ed classes, but is there something that maybe you particularly liked as much as you disliked? What surprised you? Do you want to continue in your initial major? If you're a sophomore, or maybe even some juniors out there, it's not too late to switch, to shift gears. Believe it or not, I just had someone, a second semester junior, completely change her schedule for this semester so she can get everything done still within her remaining 3 semesters. All right. Don't panic. Ask a friend, ask an advisor. Would it be helpful to take a wide variety of classes? You know, sometimes we have an arts and science student who might want to try a business class, accounting, econ. Sometimes there's a business student that wants to take maybe an advanced science class, or maybe more political science classes. It's okay to explore at Creighton because we have our wonderful Magis core. And if you're a freshman or a sophomore, it's okay probably to still try some things out, but let's meet with your advisor, okay? Would you like to be undecided for a while? We know all of our nursing students are pretty much on the nursing track. But even those students might be able to explore. If you need help, please go to your advisor, or your decurion, your sophomore leader. We are all here to support you. And of course, our Office of Student Success could also help direct you to the right people.
Okay. I think that's my cue. I am Randy Bibbins Clark. I'm the Director of Academic Success in the Success Center. And I am just going to talk about some of the resources that we provide and how to access those resources. Our academic success resources, we've got a really, when we talk about all of the resources that we have available at Creighton, we've already mentioned some of those things. And I think one of the best things about Creighton is the amount of things that we offer and the collaboration that we do among all of the people on this call. So our dean's offices really hold all of that academic stuff, and Office of Academic Success, Office of Student and Family Support, and the financial aid, we really work in collaboration together to make sure that you are getting students and families are getting all of the things that you need. So Office of Academic Success, we exist to make sure students have the support that they need to thrive in their classes. There are locations. You can see we're located in the Success Center, and we have 3 satellite locations in our first year residence halls. Our Success hubs in Dagelman on the lower level of Dagelman, first floor of Swanson on the main level of Graves. And we have professional and full-time and professional and grad level staff who are staffing those Success hubs at all times. So I'll talk a little bit more about that here in a second, how you can access that. We really do work really hard to be a friendly and knowledgeable and easily accessible spot for students to start getting that support. So sometimes, especially when things aren't going very well, it's a little bit hard to reach out and ask those questions and say, hey, I need some help. So we're just giving you lots of different avenues to do that. You've got, as Sharice said, we've got all of our folks in the dean's offices, but we've got a variety of people over here in Academic Success as well who can help. Next slide, please. Can I do it? No. All right, so in Academic Success, these are some of the resources that we provide, and I put this up here just so that everyone can see kind of the variety of things that we do, and I put that by the number slide so that everyone can see that these are heavily used resources. So anyone who is walking in the doors for tutoring or academic coaching, to use any of our other resources, you are not alone. And sometimes if you are struggling, it feels like there is kind of this spotlight on you. But the really great thing about Office of Academic Success and Student Success resources are that they are available to every single student on this campus. So you may be struggling when you walk in the door, but everybody doesn't have to know that just because you're walking in those doors, because we have students across the spectrum who are coming in and receiving those resources. And we do that because we want you to have the opportunity to be proactive. We don't want to wait until things are going rough. We want you to be able to use these resources early on. I'm going to I'll talk a little bit more about our tutoring support and academic coaching, because those are sort of our kind of benchmark programs. But I also just want to mention that if you are a student who has had an academic action from your dean's office, like you are on academic probation, or you have been dismissed from the university and have been allowed to return on appeal, then you are likely involved with Academic Success through one of our academic intervention programs, either the AIP program, which is a seminar-based program that meets once a week for students, sophomores and above who are on academic probation. We also have our TSC 130 class, which is strategies for student success. And that's for first-year students who find themselves on academic probation this semester. And that is a weekly course, a 2-credit course taught by Ryan McLaughlin. And then we have our academic recovery program, and that is our highest level of support program, coordinated with those dean's offices, where we really offer a very intensive level of support for students who have been allowed to return after dismissal, to make sure, and all of our goals are, again, to help students reach their academic goals and to return to good academic standing, and kind of continue your journey here at Creighton. So if you do have any questions about any of those programs, my Office of Academic Success, we are the folks that you're talking to. And I have a slide at the end that shows all of our happy faces, so that if you haven't met with folks yet, then you can see those faces before you show up in meetings and classes this week. These are just a couple of overviews for tutoring and academic coaching, and you will have access to these slides, so I won't read through them, but we do provide tutoring in up to like over 70 courses, and we have it in a variety of formats. We have one-on-one, we have drop-in tutoring, attached tutoring, and supplemental instruction, which are kind of increasingly supported levels of tutoring. All of our tutoring is peer-led, and it is facilitated out of the Success Center, which is in the lower level of the library. This is pretty much unlimited. And all of these tutoring can be stacked on top of each other. So if you are taking a bio class, and you can see drop-in tutoring for biology every Sunday through Thursday night from 6 to 9 p.m. You can also do one-on-one tutoring in biology. We also offer attached tutoring in biology. That's not all of our courses, but our highest level courses will have multiple ways to use that tutoring support, and that's just because of sheer numbers. One-on-one tutoring, though, we have most first and second year classes, and if we don't, we have other ways that we support students in those classes. So everything for tutoring, our first date for tutoring is next Tuesday. So it's the first full week of classes. If students are interested in looking at tutoring right now, I just caution you that our tutor training is this coming weekend, and tutors don't have to have their schedules. They won't have everything into the system until the weekend. So don't be discouraged if you don't see anything in there right now. That stuff will be up and running for you when you return on the 16th. And then academic coaching, we have 4 professional level academic coaches and 2 assistant academic coaches who can help with time management, focus and concentration, new study skills. We work with a lot of students with test anxiety, kind of learning and identifying your best study strategies. We work with a lot of students who have ADHD or other learning issues. Our goal there with academic coaching is to help you students kind of identify what your goals are and to help you reach them. And we have lots of experience working with students kind of across the university. Lots of years of combined experience. And so we're encouraging students, again, to schedule those appointments early. You can meet with someone once, you can meet weekly throughout the semester. We've got lots of different ways that we support students. This is our friendly academic success team. I put a link to, we talked a little bit about using all of our resources. So we have people resources across campus, and then we also have tools that students can use. So Sharice just mentioned our creating that bird's eye view of your semester, which is a great way to get started. And I recommend that every single student do that. There's a QR code there for our semester at a glance calendar, and that is a big 12 by 18. You can download one yourself, or you can stop by the office and pick one up. But that's a big calendar where you can write down every single one of your assignments, classes. You can start to identify patterns. You can see which classes will be busier or less busy, like weeks that'll be busy and less busy, so that you could really stay on top of things, because that's probably the number one strategy, is to be proactive and kind of get organized at the beginning. We really encourage students to try new things, try new strategies. If something didn't work, talk to your friends, talk to your decurion, go in and talk to tutors, talk to your advisor. Like, what are some other things that your advisor has worked with hundreds of students in your position, and they might have some really great advice about students who've been in this situation and worked their way out. Even if you're struggling, you might feel like you're the only Creighton student that's in that situation. But the reason we all exist is because you're not the only person in that situation. So having a growth mindset, which means we're learning from our mistakes, and we are open to this being a process, is really the number one, I would say the number one most the thing that supports moving out of this situation and having it as a kind of this experience that you move on from, versus getting kind of stuck in it. So I really encourage parents, families, and students to, if you're feeling like you let yourself down, if you're feeling like you let your kid down, if you're feeling kind of ashamed of this, I really encourage you to try to let that go, because it might be a little bit motivating, but that's really not the best way to work yourself out of something into something new. Let's start fresh, use these resources, let us support you early and often, because that's what we're here for. And this is just a quick, and again, you have access to this in our success hubs, which are located in each of the first year halls. We have some semester startup events. So for the next 3 days, we're going to have open houses from 12 to 5, where we'll have snacks, meet our assistant academic coaches, who you can do all kinds of support with. We can do like study sessions, all kinds of stuff, and have some snacks. And then from now until the end of the semester, we have all kinds of drop-in hours where not the end of the semester, the end of the month, we've got lots of hours where students can just drop in and make those schedules, do those bird's eye view semester at a glance calendars, and really get connected with those resources, ask questions. So we're here. I think that's it. Yeah.
Awesome.
All right, everyone. So my name is Jessica DeWall, and I'm the Associate Director for Student Accessibility Services at Creighton University. And we are actually located on the 4th floor of the old gym, so that's where you can find us. Accommodations are provided to students with qualified disabilities. So a disability is really any condition of the body or mind that makes it more difficult for a person with the condition to do certain activities. So students can actually go through the accommodation process at any time. Some students, you might have had accommodations in high school. Maybe you're just being diagnosed with disabilities now. So again, at any point of your college career, while you're here at Creighton, you can actually seek out services from our office. So students can, like I said, go through the accommodations at any time. However, one thing to kind of keep in mind is accommodations does not guarantee success. It really just kind of equals the level playing field to making sure students have equal access at Creighton. So accommodations do look a little bit different from the college aspect if you had them in high school. Really in high school, typically with accommodations, they are more parent driven, whereas in college, the roles reverse. It's actually going to be more student driven. So students will need to go through a self-disclosure and actually disclose to our office, Student Accessibility Services, to let us know about their disability. So it's really important for you as a student to be a self-advocate and really connect with our office early on as possible so we can get your accommodations in place. In order to receive accommodations, students do have to provide supporting documentation. This could be anything from a former 504 plan or IEP plans. Some students will submit documentation from a healthcare provider or counselor. There's lots of different ways that you can receive documentation based off of what process you went through. It varies between each student. So once students send us documentation and they have accommodations set up, the one thing that's a little bit different is from high school compared to college is students are also responsible to notify their faculty about their accommodations. And this is a really important part of the process, is to making sure you're having a conversation with them. Because again, we really want to have equal access to our students as well. And we're gonna go ahead and go to the next slide there for me. Thank you. The one thing I want to talk about is how the accommodation process works here at Creighton. So as I mentioned, students do have to self-disclose, and this is the first step is by completing an intake form. This intake form can actually be found on the SAS's website. So you can just Google SAS at creighton.edu or just Google Creighton Student Accessibility Services website, and it'll pop right up on the right-hand side for you. And students will actually go ahead and complete this form and answer some brief questions and provide some information for us. And also in that form, that's where you're going to upload that documentation. So like I said, either a former 504 plan or an IEP or documentation from a healthcare provider. And then after that form is submitted, it goes to our office and you will receive an email from SAS. And a staff member, you'll actually be required to meet with a SAS staff member to start the interactive process with this meeting. So what we do is we meet virtually online. And we kind of talk a little bit about, it allows us to talk with you to get to know you as a student, talk about what accommodations you're requesting for, kind of what barriers are in your way. And then we kind of discuss potential accommodations. And the reason why we do the interactive process, again, it allows us to get to know you as a student and also make sure we're helping you be successful in making sure we're getting the accommodations that you need as well to equal that playing field. Once students are approved for accommodations, then we have what's called the self-registration system, and that's through Clockwork. And so students would go in and they actually self-register for their classes, and that gets sent out to their faculty members on campus. And then that allows them to discuss their accommodations with their faculty members. One of the most common questions I would say we definitely get regarding accommodations are, let's say, for example, if you're applying for accommodations today, some students want to know if accommodations can be retroactive. And unfortunately, they are not. So starting with accommodations, if you met with a SAS staff member today and we got your accommodations in place, those would start from today and moving forward. So that's just something we want our students to be aware of. So that's why it's really important, if you do have a disability and you have questions about the process or just any steps, you are always more than welcome to email us at sas@creighton.edu. And we can definitely get you connected with our online form to start the intake process. Or if you have general questions about accommodations, that's what we're here for, is to really support you in that process. So our SAS office does the interactive process, like I said, because we really think of each student as an individual and we want to make sure we're supporting them. But we do have ADA guidelines that we have to follow. So sometimes we can't always, always guarantee with accommodations because we do have guidelines and rules, but that's why we have the interactive process, so we can get to know students and also making sure we can assist them the best that we can as well. And I think that is all I have. And I think we're going to the Q&A, if I remember correctly.
Yes, thanks so much, Jess. And we just really do want to take a few minutes here before the top of the hour and really open it up, remind you that you have access to the Q&A function. And if you would want to go ahead and pop any questions that are immediately coming to mind right now in the Q&A while we've got our panel of experts and our behind the scenes folks. And while we wait for folks to put questions in the Q&A, I did want to call attention to one, Charisse, and I'm actually gonna kick that one to you. I think it was answered, but I think it's a question we hear all the time and important maybe for you to answer verbally on if a student retakes a class, what does that look like? Does that new grade apply? Do they average the grades? Is the grade still on the transcript? Charisse, can you explain a little bit more about the benefits and what happens when a student retakes a class?
Sure. So first of all, full disclosure, everybody thinks I know so much. There's this thing called the catalog. And in the catalog, there's a section called Academic Policies and Procedures. And I promise you, they pay me to know this, but I will break out that page every time to go over some of this stuff. To review retaking of grades, any student may retake any grade, any class in which they earn a C- or lower. If you retake that grade in a future semester, the original grade you earned of the C- or lower will remain on your official transcript, but it will say either retake or not on the official transcript, but it will be in the original semester with the original grade not included. The new grade will completely replace, as far as calculating GPAs for the CUME, will completely replace that grade. There is no average. So if I got an F in calculus last semester and I retake it in spring 24 and I get an A, the F, although it remains on the transcript, is not included in my overall GPA. Where it gets tricky, and this is where my friend Janet comes in financial aid, we do have to be careful about retaking too much. So all of my overachieving students out there with a C- maybe in one class, you don't want to get stuck too much on that, because you do need to continue to make satisfactory academic progress. But if we can get you into good academic standing, so if you got, I don't know, I'm going to say maybe I got 2 Ds last semester and I really want to increase my GPA, I could retake those 2 grades in spring, replace those 2 grades of D, and it'll be like, not kind of like it never happened, because it happened, but there's no penalty other than having to retake the class.
Thanks so much, Charisse. Another question that we have, Randy, I think maybe we'll kick this over to you. And if Jess wants to support, do you have any tips for incoming freshmen? And I think the majority of our audience are our current students, or maybe, you know, if you want to spin that into a student who maybe needs some advice here first time out of the gate.
Is it just general advice for an incoming freshman?
Tips for success for incoming freshmen, please.
I guess my biggest tip for success is to treat this. We all know we've got kind of this standard of how we felt about what we needed to do well and how we did in high school. My tip is to treat this like this is still academic, this is still school, but it's a different arena. So a lot of the skills that you and the questions that you kind of feel like you have answered from high school, those things are going to come up again. And you might have to learn new skills and new strategies. I would lean right into that and expect that you'll be confused, expect that you'll have to do things differently, expect that maybe something that you thought was going to be this way is going to be a different way. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you're not fit to be here or that you don't know enough or anything like that. It's just really kind of taking it as a new experience. I think what I find with students who are like really struggling the most, it's because maybe they started an accounting class and they were in FBLA and they never had any issues with this. And now they took that first accounting exam and it was a disaster. And they're afraid to say that because they're an accounting person. Like they're supposed to be okay with this. And it's hard to admit that that's a problem. So you just kind of go on and you're afraid to ask questions. You're afraid to go to your professor. You're afraid to use the tutoring resources. So I would say, again, kind of as much as we can, kind of let that go. That's kind of what that tip about having a growth mindset means. It means that like this is the beginning of a process and no one expects anyone, whether you're a first year student or a fourth year student, to have every single question answered and for everything to go perfectly smoothly. But what is really frustrating for us to watch is when we can see that happening and you just won't talk to us and we're reaching out and you won't respond to those emails. We're great people. You don't have to worry about like disappointing someone like you would with your family. We're people that you can come in. We've seen it before. This is why we're here. Just let us know so that we could figure out the right way to help get something handled.
Thanks so much, Randy. I know Randy and I talk, we office near each other, and we do. We just really have some basics. You know, for those of you that maybe you're getting ready to send your student off to college, to ask yourself, do they have some basic skills in place to make sure that your student can set their alarm and get to class, as basic as it sounds, or to be able to ask for help when they need it. So there are some things, Randy and her team, and you saw their friendly faces, they're amazing, but they're not going to knock on a res hall and wake a student up. So we just really appreciate all the independence pieces that that families can really encourage and work hard to put in place before students, many of our students moving across country to come to a new environment. I think another one we had that maybe might have been answered was, we've talked a lot about advisors, and Charisse, you talked about, you actually made a quick reference to, you know, an advisor and an advisee relationship. We've got phenomenal advisors and phenomenal students, but sometimes it might not just be the right fit for whatever reason. That connection maybe just isn't there. So what can a student do if, is there a formal process if they just feel like they want another opinion other than their advisors?
Sure. Well, in Hyder, we like for our students to come to our dean's office, which is where my office is located in the dean suite. I know Assistant Dean Lisa Brockhoff in Arts and Sciences is in the dean suite, which is in the Epley building right there. I think it's the third floor going through, and Assistant Dean Cam is in the College of Nursing. Oh, second floor for Arts and Sciences, excuse me. But Assistant Dean Geraldine Cam is also available, but different colleges may have different processes for that. But I know for Hyder or Arts and Sciences, if there's a problem with your advisor, please come to the dean's office and we can help navigate or figure that out with you, for you. We might pull in our friends from students. We might call in a career center advisor, but the dean's office is really sort of like the point guard for the advising of students and assigning of advisors. So hopefully the dean's office will be able to help you out and help make a plan moving forward.
And Sharice, I'll just add that'd be the same thing for College of Nursing if they come my way and will help. So thanks.
And as we know, a lot of times we've really given you a lot of information here this evening, and you may have a question 5 minutes from now, or at 3 a.m., or a week from now, or maybe a year or semester from now. And we encourage you to go back, watch this recording, fast forward through parts if you need to, and actually, Torian, if you go to that last slide, if there's one takeaway, I believe several of us mentioned tonight, the collaboration and collegiality at Creighton. Full disclosure, Creighton mom here, and also a mom of a college student at a different institution. Creighton, it's just top notch, the communication and the collaboration, that really a takeaway, whether you have a financial aid question that may bleed into an advising question or an academic and a GPA type question. The takeaway is you can always start with the Success Center. We're a lower level Reinhardt Alumni Library. We are on a high traffic. If you came on the tour, we were one of the tour stops. And one thing you'll see when you walk by is, first of all, we're open till 9 p.m. most nights, starting next week during the academic year. And we've got our success desk that is overseen by our Office of Family and Student Support, where there is one, if not two, success reps, our student workers and our lead tutors, that can be there to answer those one-off questions, maybe peer-to-peer. Your student maybe just wants to chat with another classmate on that quick question. But no, they're also very well trained to know when it's outside their scope and a situation needs to get escalated to a professional staff member. We've really focused tonight on academic concerns, but we know a lot of times an academic bump could be the sign of something else that the student and the family that you all may need some support in, whether that's a financial bump, an emotional, a spiritual, a social, medical, mental health, anything. That's really the takeaway tonight, is to start with us, the contact information, success@creighton.edu, family@creighton.edu, or for your student to walk in and just say, hey, I have a question, or hey, I think I need to talk to somebody. That's the skill that the number one skill that we really want to hit home tonight. I don't see that we have any other questions in the chat. I don't want to rush things along, but I do know we're right about 5 minutes before the top of the hour. With that, I think we'll go ahead and say our goodbyes, and please join me in thanking all of our panelists that took time out this evening to join us. And thank you to our families from across Bluejay Nation for joining us. And in about 6 minutes here, roll Jays. Thanks, everybody.